the left has decided that the end of the world is nigh in Georgia, according to some of the world's best journalists. Apparently, Georgia's new heartbeat bill, which protects the lives of the unborn, unborn children, human lives, that bill, barbaric, dark ages, terrible, not only barbaric and dark ages and terrible, according to some of these brilliant folks, but apparently leads to the possibility that women will be prosecuted if they have a miscarriage in Georgia. It will be the end of the world, cats and dogs sleeping together, all the rest of this crap. Okay, here's the reality. The bill does no such thing. David French has a great piece over at National Review explaining the legality behind the Georgia law. He points out that the law not only bans abortion when the baby has a detectable human heartbeat, it declares the scientific, philosophical, and theological truth that an unborn child is a natural person under state law. In fact, the law even goes so far as to ensure that a guy who knocks up a woman has to provide child support for her pregnancy. French points out, he says, I expected activist resistance and protest against the bill. I expected radical voices to urge corporate boycotts of Georgia. I must confess, I did not expect to see a series of stories with lurid headlines and fundamentally mistaken premises go viral and stay viral for days. Here is a sampling. Georgia, Slate, Georgia just criminalized abortion. Women who terminate their pregnancies would receive life in prison. The Week, Georgia's heartbeat abortion bill could imprison women for life. All of this is garbage. All of it is untrue. All of it is slanted news and fake news and stupidity and biased. Okay, because here is the truth. This is not what the law says. The stories are viral because they rely, says French, on facially plausible reasoning. Since Georgia declared all unborn children to be natural persons, then Georgia's conventional murder statute must apply to women who self-terminate. But this is fundamentally wrong. The heartbeat bill did not repeal a number of Georgia criminal statutes that explicitly apply to abortions and unborn children, and it does not overrule controlling legal authority, holding that these statutes bar prosecution of a woman for terminating her own pregnancy. It is not the pro-life position, nor has it been, as far as I'm aware, ever, that women who self-terminate pregnancies ought to be prosecuted. This is simply not a pro-life position. Donald Trump, you'll recall, in 2016, made implications that he might want to prosecute women who did this, and the entire pro-life movement came down on his head. So when folks on the left, people on the social left, journalists who lie, say things like this bill is going to criminalize women who self-terminate or who have miscarriages, like accidental miscarriages, it is just not true. First, as French points out, there is a specific code section that applies to unlawful abortions. Georgia Code Section 1612-140 states, quote, a person commits the offense of criminal abortion when, in violation of Code Section 1612-141, he or she administers any medicine, drugs, or other substance, whatever, to any woman, or when he or she uses any instrument or other means, whatever, upon any woman with intent to produce a miscarriage or abortion. A person convicted of the offense of criminal abortion shall be punished by imprisonment for not less than 1, nor more than 10 years. Code Section 1612-141 is the exact section that was amended to include the heartbeat provision. If a person performs an abortion in violation of the heartbeat bill, then Code Section 1612-140 applies. It does not impose life imprisonment on anybody. Georgia courts have held it does not apply to a woman who self-terminates, only to third parties who perform an abortion, which again is the traditional pro-life position, but people who don't know anything say differently because they are liars. In Hillman versus State, the Court of Appeals of Georgia rejected the prosecution's efforts to imprison a woman who shot herself in the stomach to kill her unborn child. Interpreting 1612-140, it said, quote, this statute is written in the third person, clearly indicating that at least 2 actors must be involved. Accordingly, it does not criminalize a pregnant woman's actions in securing an abortion, regardless of the means utilized. Second, the Georgia Code section that criminalizes feticide, such as when a man attacks a woman for purpose of killing her unborn baby, specifically says, quote, nothing in this code section shall be construed to permit the prosecution of any woman with respect to her unborn child. Taken together, these statutes mean that a woman cannot be prosecuted either for aborting her own baby or committing feticide. If you're still skeptical about my argument, perhaps you'll believe a Planned Parenthood representative responding to a query from the Washington Post. The Post fact-check claims that the Georgia bill criminalized women who terminated their own pregnancies and found those claims incorrect. This is a quote from the Washington Post, quote, the news headlines and social media headlines that speculate about the bill's unintended consequences are, at the very least, not productive. At most, they're harmful. This is according to Planned Parenthood's Stacey Fox. HB 481 could not be used to successfully prosecute women, she argued. She says if a woman had a miscarriage, she could be pulled into an investigation looking at whether someone had performed an illegal abortion on her. But again, that is not for purposes of prosecuting the woman, nor is the suggestion that a woman could be jailed for a miscarriage. That's a bunch of crap put out by badly motivated people who are liars. That's a far, far cry from the headlines above, says David French, but the truth isn't stopping the falsehood from rocketing around social media. Okay, so, with that in mind, it is important to see how the left has responded to the lie, how they push the lie, how they exacerbate the lie, and then how they, on the back of this, use the woke lie in order to promote some of the dumbest boycott policy I've ever seen in my life. So first, you're seeing corporations saying that they're going to boycott Georgia. They won't film in Georgia. Well, I'm sure that that's going to change the lives of pro-lifers. I'm sure that all the pro-lifers in the state of Georgia will suddenly be okay with the killing of the unborn, so long as you guys don't bring your production of Hangover Part 4 to Georgia. It's going to change everything, guys. But according to NBC News, Hollywood, it just shows you where Hollywood is, that they really care deeply about abortion. Abortion is the Hollywood litmus test. There are two litmus tests for morality in Hollywood. One, are you okay with killing unborn children? And two, how do you feel about same-sex marriage? Now, it used to be that same-sex marriage was really the only test. You could be pro-life in Hollywood, sort of. But the fact is, you're not really allowed to be pro-life anymore. If you're pro-life in Hollywood, this is a symptom of you being a crazed religious fanatic. Or as Chris Cuomo, the very objective journalist on CNN, has said, the only reason to be pro-life is faith and feelings, which is utter crap and garbage, obviously. Well, when it comes to Hollywood, I mean, I remember I did a book called Primetime Propaganda. This is back in 2013, 2014, 2012 maybe. In any case, my book was about Hollywood and how Hollywood is biased against conservatives. One of the people I interviewed for the book was Patricia Heaton. Patty Heaton has been the star of multiple sitcoms. She was the star of Everybody Loves Raymond. She played Raymond's wife. She was the star of The Middle. She's been a consistent fixture on television for years. And I remember I interviewed her, and because Patty is deeply pro-life. She's Catholic, and she is deeply pro-life. And I asked her, do you feel that you've ever lost a job because of your pro-life position? And she said, no, I've been working consistently in town for 20 years. And she said, can I call you back? 2 days later, I received a call from Patty, and she said, I've been calling around. I called my agent. I called a bunch of people. They never told me this, but I've lost 7 specific jobs due to being pro-life. One of the litmus tests in Hollywood is whether you're in favor of the quote-unquote right of a woman to kill an unborn child and have an abortion doctor do it, right? This is one of the moral questions of the day because morality in Hollywood is completely upside down. If you wish to raise your child religious, evil. If you wish to kill your child in the womb, good. That's the basic logical morality of Hollywood, unfortunately. So now Hollywood is declaring that it's going to boycott Georgia. It's funny, I don't remember Hollywood boycotting Hollywood after Harvey Weinstein. I don't remember Hollywood boycotting Hollywood after Oscars So White. I don't remember any of this stuff. But I do remember Hollywood trying to boycott the state of Georgia. Okay, so according to NBC News, multiple production companies have announced they will no longer film in Georgia after the state passed a restrictive abortion law. The law, signed by Governor Brian Kemp, a Republican, on Tuesday, bans abortion once a fetal heartbeat can be detected, which can be as early as 6 weeks, before some women even know they are pregnant. Georgia has quietly become a major production location for film and television, largely because of tax incentives the state offers. In 2016, according to the nonprofit Film LA, 17 of the year's top 100 films were produced in Georgia, more than in California, because it turns out that Democrats in California don't like the economic policies that they vote for. So they vote for these crap economic policies in my home state, and then they can't stand the heat, and so they get out of the kitchen and they go to Georgia. Kemp said, this year the industry employs around 200,000 Georgians and brings in tens of billions of dollars of revenue to the state. David Simon, who's the creator of The Wire and a far leftist, said his production company will cease filming in the state. He tweeted, quote, our comparative assessments of locations for upcoming development will pull Georgia off the list until we can be assured the health options and civil liberties of our female colleagues are unimpaired. If you truly believe that Georgia is going to change its abortion policy because frickin' David Simon ain't going to film there, I don't think you understand pro-life people. For pro-life people, this bill is the equivalent of the abolition of slavery. And if you think that those people are going to be like, yeah, you know what, let's go back to the killing of babies because I desperately need David Simon's latest TV show here, think again.